Hello and welcome to the Visionary Chronicles. I'm Bryan Smeltzer. Those of you who don't know, I've spent 30 years in executive leadership at Oakley, adidas, TaylorMade, K-Swiss, to mention a few brands, built and sold my own brand, apparel brand, to a Visi firm, and now advise CMOs and brand leaders through LiquidMind. Based here in Southern California, I'm building brands that create the future. And today we're going to talk about, and it's a series that I've been talking about on my new book, The Visionary Leader, an Amazon best-selling book, The Success Principles of the World's Greatest Visionaries. And today we're going to talk about a subject that, interestingly enough, although very important, very few people talk about it, and it's called commitment. And everyone talks about vision. Almost no one talks about what it actually takes to see that vision through. So today we'll go deep on a single trait that separates the leaders who build generational brands from the ones who simply talk about them: commitment. Not the one motivational poster version, the real strategic, daily, disciplined version that visionary leaders treat as a lifeblood of how they succeed and how they've built what they've created successfully and made it a generational impact that most of us are familiar with those brands that we talk about in my book, The Visionary Leader. And those leaders, going all the way back to Socrates, to Abraham Lincoln, Martin Luther King Jr. So it's a broad diversification of visionary leaders, and the context of it is that every single one of them had this common thread, and that was commitment to what they believed in. So I'm going to break it down into 5 concepts you can apply the moment this episode ends. And I always like to start with a quote, and this one happens to be from one of my favorites, Peter Drucker. So he says, "Unless commitment is made, there are only promises and hopes, but no plans." So commitment is really the foundation upon what I say visionary leaders build iconic generational brands that we're familiar with. The ones that have been around for generations and the ones that have built a foundation of values and a foundation of commitment to what those values stand for and what their brand stands for. And that's what truly makes a brand. It's easy to make simple decisions. It's difficult to make hard decisions because the commitment is greater. So here's the uncomfortable truth about leadership content, which most avoid. Vision is the easy part. Everyone has a vision. Every founder can describe the future, what they want to build, this grandiose plan of what they see they would like to build. And here's the truth 100% of the time. What separates the leaders who actually get there from the ones who don't is not the quality of the vision. It's the depth of the commitment behind it. Think of Thomas Edison. Again, I use this example many times, but I think it's a very appropriate example of a person committed to what he believed in. 10,000 experiments that we would call experiments to come to number 10,000, which was the invention of the light bulb. And what was Thomas Edison's attitude after what we would call failures? And by the way, no great product, service, or brand has ever been built without first taking a risk and second, failing. His comment after these 9,999 failures was, "I found out 9,999 ways not to invent the light bulb." Now, that's a positive mental attitude, and very few have it. So, visionary leaders possess an unwavering commitment that fuels their relentless pursuit of transforming their dreams into reality. That's a fact. They understand that perseverance and unwavering dedication are the path to greatness. A commitment to the vision keeps them moving forward, even when doubt and adversity surrounds them. These leaders draw strength from their firm belief in their vision. Not just the vision itself, but a belief through a commitment to execute it to reality, knowing it has the potential to reshape our world. So these are the disruptions that we talk about. And here's what makes it strategic, rather than what most people would say is a sentimental idea of, hey, I would like to do this. They treat every brand as an opportunity to change our world. So when we look at this, beyond being sentimental, they treat the commitment not as a feeling, but as a system, a set of practices, a daily choice. Today, we break down the system into 5 concepts. So let's get into this and see how you can apply. I'll give you examples and questions at the end of each one of these concepts that you can apply to your day-to-day, kind of giving you, let's say, a gauge of your commitment personally to your vision, your ideas, or where you would like to take your brand, company, or service. So the first one is commitment is strategic. And I talk about this in the Visionary Leader book. I talk about each one of these in depth. And I also go through examples of visionary leaders that are specific to commitment. So in the next podcast episode, we're going to talk about who the visionary leader is for commitment. And it is Abraham Lincoln, and it's going to be a great episode, so hopefully you tune in for that. So the first one is commitment is strategic. It's built, it's not felt. So what I mean by this, the core idea behind it is the first misconception about commitment is that it's an emotion, that committed leaders simply feel more strongly than everyone else. That is outright wrong. And believing it is what causes most leaders to lose their commitment the moment the feeling fades. There will be times when you don't feel like continuing with this process. But if the vision is truly authentic, you push through that feeling. Visionary leaders treat commitment as a strategy. They use specific personal strategies to maintain their commitment to realizing their vision. And while these strategies vary among individuals, one is nearly universal. They regularly visualize the successful realization of their vision. So the principle behind this is these strategies encompass mental, emotional, physical, and interpersonal decisions and dimensions, contributing to a well-rounded and resilient commitment to their vision. The mental imagery you need to put in your head is not wishful thinking, it's a tool to success. By vividly visualizing the end goal, visionary leaders make it more tangible. And that tangibility, I call it, reinforces their commitment when the day-to-day grind would erode it. And we've all been there. You believe in something one day, and then you don't the next day. That's not a commitment. That's just an idea. So until you're committed to your idea and your vision, to see it through and realize the execution and commercialize whatever you see your vision being, that is a commitment. They recognize that commitment is not merely a word, but it's really a lifeblood that flows through them, through their veins on a day-to-day basis. Their commitment to overarching vision ignites their passion, propels them forward, even when doubt continually reminds them that there are challenges ahead. Life's not easy. Being a visionary is not easy. They refuse to be swayed by naysayers or deterred by setbacks. You can imagine Thomas Edison, Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, all our great visionaries. When they propose an idea, they are the ones that see the future. So the ones in the present mock the future because they don't see how it can be realized. So those are the naysayers. Those are the ones that try to set these visionaries back. You need to have the strength to push through that. Instead, choosing to embrace challenges as opportunities for growth. So a quick principle on this concept, one is, commitment that depends on how you feel will not survive the days you feel nothing. Build commitment into your systems, your visualization practice, your standards, your daily structure, so it holds when motivation does not. So here's your practical application on this concept. This week, I want you to write one paragraph description of your vision fully realized. Vivid, specific, present tense. Read it every morning before you open your inbox. I do this, and it's been something that has allowed me to achieve successfully the vision that I've had for Liquid Mind. Then identify one place where your commitment currently depends on feeling motivated. Build a system that removes that dependency. Concept 2 is commitment is expressed in action, leading from the front. The commitment that lives in your head is invisible to your team. And your commitment to your team is a commitment they can follow. Visionary leaders understand the commitment extends beyond mere words. It's a visualization and expression in actions. Think of Steve Jobs. One more thing. And the passion that Steve had behind executing through his team and realizing the vision through them. And to this day, how they talk about that experience as being challenging, but more importantly, rewarding. They lead by example, setting a standard of excellence that inspires others to follow. So they're on the front lines with the team. They dedicate themselves to the vision and pouring themselves into every opportunity they have to work with their team to realize this vision because it builds trust with their team. Their tireless purpose becomes a guiding foundation for their teams, a constant living reminder that anything is possible with focus and relentless effort. I have a chapter in the book that's actually called Relentlessness as one of the main principles of a visionary leader in addition to commitment. This is a multiplier effect of visible commitment. When a leader demonstrates commitment through action rather than announcement, it gives everyone around them permission and motivation to do the same. The standard is not something written on a wall. It's something the team watches visually every day live with their leader who's authentic in their vision, in their purpose. And it must be continual. Can't be occasional. Visionary leaders recognize commitment is not a finite resource, but an ongoing, never-ending quest. Really pursued by continuously feeding their vision and purpose. They seek opportunities to expand their knowledge, embrace new experiences, and connect with those that share their vision. By expanding their horizons, they stay inspired and keep believing in their vision's transformative power. Your team does not absorb the commitment you describe. They absorb the commitment they observe. Let me say that again. Your team does not absorb the commitment you describe, they absorb the commitment they observe. Lead from the front, or don't expect them to follow. So here's a practical application on concept 2. Identify the single hardest problem your organization is facing right now, the one everybody is quietly hoping someone else will solve. And in last week's episode, I talked about AI, the AI-centered CEO and executive leaders, and I'm sure that's something that's on the radar. If it's not, it absolutely should be. Put yourself visibly on the front line of solving this issue this week. Your team is watching what you commit to, not what you announce. Be authentic, be passionate, and bleed for your team. Be with them on the front lines. Concept 3 is commitment is really shared, building the ecosystem of accountability. Here's a principle that separates the leaders who burn out from the ones who build lasting things. Commitment is not meant to be carried alone. Visionary leaders recognize that commitment is really a shared responsibility. They actively seek out and surround themselves with like-minded individuals who are equally passionate about their vision. It creates a powerful ecosystem inside of a brand. I've seen this time and time again. Brands I've worked with and brands that I work for, with Liquid Mind, Nike, Adidas, Oakley, all of these brands, from the outside in, they can see this performance-driven culture that's committed to their ecosystem. It creates really this powerful ecosystem that has accountability that propels them toward realizing their vision. So true visionaries engage their teams in a collective mission, I call it, creating a sense of common purpose that builds a brand culture where everyone is held to the same standard and accountable for their contributions. This isn't people sitting around a table in the 80-20 rule of 80% of all decisions is accounted for by 20% of the people. This is really like-minded individuals that see the vision, are passionate about the vision, and are willing to follow a leader who's authentic. And critically, they understand that they provide calm through chaos. Visionary leaders cultivate emotional intelligence to understand and manage their own emotions and those of others. This skill helps them really navigate interpersonal dynamics, which is very challenging, foster collaboration with different opinions, and sustain commitment across the entire organization. Think of how this visionary is able to bind the team and the brand or product, whatever it happens to be. It's an extremely valuable asset to have a commitment to what you believe in, because others trust you and others are willing to come along in your journey. This is the difference between a leader who's committed and an organization that's committed. The first is fragile. It depends on one person. The second is durable. It's woven into the culture, the standards, and the shared accountability of everyone inside of that building. A vision carried by one person is fragile. A vision shared across a committed team is unstoppable. Build the ecosystem of accountability, then the commitment outlasts you. So for principle or concept 3, rather, here's an application I would like you to take away today. I want you to name the 3 people whose commitment to your vision matters most. Are they genuinely bought in or simply compliant with what you say? This week, have one direct conversation that converts compliance into ownership. Shared commitment is built one relationship at a time. Now, concept 4 is commitment is continual, the daily practices that sustain it. Commitment is really not a single decision you make once. It's a choice you make every day, and visionary leaders build daily practices that make that choice easier to keep. They break their vision into smaller, achievable goals to maintain focus, and tangibility measures progress. This step-by-step approach provides really this, what I call this roadmap for staying committed, staying on the road to your journey. I call this switchback leadership many times, but your destination never changes. You may go from point A to point B, but have switchback decisions you have to make along the way that may move you off your path, but never your destination. From chapter 7, here are a few of the practices visionary leaders use to stay committed. And this is the chapter 7 from the visionary leader. The practices that visionary leaders use to stay committed. And I thought these were super important to note these. Number 1 is time management. They prioritize tasks that align with their vision, allocating time and resources to move closer to their goals. Number 2 is they always take time for personal reflection. Very few people do that, if anybody does this. Lock yourself up in a room for 15, 30 minutes a day with no disruptions. Turn the lights out and just focus. Personal reflection, regular self-reflection that lets them assess their commitment levels, identify challenges, and adjust their strategy. Number 3 is mindfulness and growth mindset. Practices that build emotional resilience and reframe challenges and opportunities for learning. The next is networking and mentorship, surrounding themselves with people who offer guidance, encouragement, and a fresh perspective beyond themselves. The next is adaptive decision making. This is an interesting one because when I whiteboard this with our brands and our executive leaders, most people will say decision making. And I put the word in there adaptive for a reason. What it is staying flexible, adjusting strategy based on feedback while never losing the core vision. Adaptive decision making and adaptive leadership. The next is celebration. Celebrate wins. Recognizing and rewarding small victories, no matter how small they are. No brands do this enough, but the payback is immense with your team because gratitude fuels the spirit and it renews their determination to succeed. The next is empowerment. This goes back to one of my previous podcasts talking about leadership humility. Not enough leaders are humble enough to let go of empowerment. Empower your teams, delegating and entrusting responsibilities so the leader can focus on a truly broader vision. And the underpinning of all of these is a positive mindset, adaptability, and a firm anchor, I call it, to core values that act as a moral compass for your brand, company, or product. With these principles as part of your DNA, visionary leaders don't wait for perfect conditions. That'll never happen. They take decisive action, even when uncertain. They understand that progress comes from experimentation and iteration. Fail faster, succeed sooner. And they're unafraid to fail, learn, and move forward. Commitment is not sustained by willpower. It's sustained by practices. Build the daily disciplines, and the commitment takes care of itself. So here's your practical application on concept 4. Pick 2 practices from the toolkit, just 2. They don't have to be currently done consistently, build them into your calendar this week as non-negotiable recurring commitments. Small disciplines, repeated daily, are what sustain a decade-long vision. So let me bring this whole concept and subject we're talking about today on commitment together and why commitment matters, the daily choice that defines a legacy. Visionary leaders possess what I call a firm, passionate belief in their vision. They envision a future that defies conventional perceptions, and they relentlessly pursue its realization. That belief fuels their passion and their perseverance, driving them forward despite the difficulties that inevitably come with time. And we've all been there. And here's a line from chapter 7 in the book, The Visionary Leader, that I want you to sit with. Visionary leaders understand that commitment is a choice, and they make it daily. Not once, at the start, in a moment of inspiration, daily. They stay focused on their goal, even when faced with setbacks and distractions. They refuse to let obstacles deter them from their path. And this is what separates what I call the founders whose names we remember from the ones we've never heard about. It's not that the great ones had great or better ideas or more resources or easier circumstances. It was that they were committed every single day when the people around them quietly stopped. Commitment compounds, I talked about. Every day you choose it. You make the next day's choice a little easier and the vision a little more real. And every day you skip it, the opposite happens. That daily choice, repeated over years, it what builds a generational brand. So here's a principle, the last principle. Commitment is a choice you make daily, not a decision you make once. The leaders who build legacies are the ones who keep choosing when everyone else has stopped. So here's your last application on concept 5. Tonight, before you end your day, ask one question. Did I recommit to my vision today in my actions, not just my intentions? Visual versus verbal. Then ask it again tomorrow and the day after. The answer, repeated over a year, is your legacy. So my closing challenge for you on today's podcast is this. And here's what I want you to take from today. Commitment is a foundation, not vision, not strategy, not even talent, commitment. Vision tells you where you want to go. Strategy tells you how to get there. But commitment is the thing that gets you out of bed in the morning when the strategy has failed. The vision feels distant, and every rational person around you is telling you to quit. So we've covered 5 concepts today. It's been a lot. Gave you some challenges, gave you some principles, some brand examples as well. And commitment is strategic. You build it. You don't just feel it. Commitment is expressed in action. Your team follows what they observe, not what you announce. Commitment is shared. It's a vision carried alone is fragile. A vision shared is unstoppable. Commitment is continual, sustained by daily practices, not willpower. It's a habit you do every single day, no matter how you feel. And commitment matters because it's a choice you make every single day. So here's your challenge this week, along with all the other challenges I gave you today. Identify the one area of your vision where commitment has quietly slipped, where you have been coasting on a decision you made months ago instead of recommitting to it today. Name it, then recommit to it in action this week, not in your head, and something your team can see. So are you ready to join the ranks of visionary leaders really committed to making a difference in the world? I want you to embrace commitment as your guiding principle and let it fuel your journey to greatness. So I want you to visualize, conceptualize, and realize your vision. And if this episode resonated with you today, I encourage you to pick up a copy of The Visionary Leader. It's the principles I talked about today, the principles, the success principles of the world's greatest visionaries. It's available now. It's a best-selling book on Amazon and wherever books are sold. This book, and I just recently announced that the audiobook has recently been completed as well for those of you that I've gotten great feedback, to those that have purchased the audiobook as well. And the book draws directly from the frameworks that I discuss on the Visionary Chronicles. It's your blueprint for building the kind of leadership that creates generational impact. And the link will be in the show notes. So online, you'll see the links to the show notes for the Visionary Leader. And if you're a CMO, founder, brand leader, and you'd like to apply these frameworks I talk about directly, I work with a select number of clients with Liquid Mind and through a private advisory basis. And if that's you, go to liquidmindadvisory.com and click the link and send me a note. And we can sign you up for a free 15-minute meeting, kind of get an idea of where you're at and what you're looking to achieve. And one quick ask I have before I let you go. This podcast episode gave you one idea you can use this week. Would you mind taking 30 seconds to leave a review on Apple Podcasts? It would be greatly appreciated. It always is. I read all of them. It tells this algorithm the show is worth finding. And for me, the most important thing is it helps other leaders discover this content. And for a weekly brand strategy and leadership insights I don't share anywhere else, subscribe also to the Visionary Advisory letter at bryansmeltzer.com, BryanSmeltzer.com. And the link is also in the show notes. So again, thank you for your time. The Visionary Chronicles, where the future is created by those bold enough to shape it. Until next time, as always, keep innovating, keep leading, keep shaping the future, stay true, stay authentic, be different, be great, but most of all, enjoy the journey along the way. I'm Bryan Smeltzer. See you in the next Visionary Chronicles.